I actually have another squash here. I'll show it to you in a second. That I got a couple weeks ago in a farmer's market box. So this is actually a acorn squash that I got, and I haven't used it yet, but it's gonna be fine because they last for a long time.
Heather, Nancy mentioned that she loves butternut squash and acorn squash for fall squashes.
Yeah, the thing I like about acorn is that they're fun because you don't have to peel them. So you like save a step. You do still need to take the seeds out, but you don't have to do the peeling part. So that's convenient. All right, I'm gonna do this as fast as I can. I did think about doing some of it in advance, but then I thought, well, but if we need to show it. We also have another fun recipe that we worked on a bit over the summer that uses butternut squash, which is it's like what do we call it? Cheesy butternut squash mac and peas, I think is the official name of it. So it's basically a macaroni and cheese that takes out some of the cheese and dairy, still has some in there, but it's lightened up by using some pureed butternut squash. And of course it's the perfect color for it. And it works out very well. And you can definitely make that with the frozen squash. So after you get this peeled, we're gonna get it diced up. We're gonna season it. Today I'm just using, what am I using? Garlic powder, onion powder, oregano. I'm using smoked paprika. You could use regular paprika. I actually just sort of realized after moving here really that I like smoked paprika. I didn't think I liked it before, but I realized that I do like it. It does have a really nice, interesting, different flavor. Very, very smoky. Okay, all peeled. Now our goal is just to get this diced up in as evenly sized pieces as we possibly can. So when I tackle this part, I usually just think about how wide do I want my pieces, and then I start getting these into strips. And then they are curved, so it can be a little tricky, but we just make the best of it. I'll usually cut it in half, and then, kind of just decide, okay, I'm gonna do that in thirds. Okay, great. Now I can sort of lay it down flat and do it a little bit nicer. That piece is kind of weird. This one I might cut in half this way. Sometimes you just have to decide in the moment what makes sense, right? I don't like that part. It seems like it's squishy. Amber, do you have a favorite butternut squash or winter squash?
Yeah, my favorite thing to do with any type of squash, but particularly butternut squash, is I love to make risotto. So I make a lot with butternut squash, and my favorite one with that is definitely with spinach and maybe some shallot. Obviously, lots of cheese.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. Risotto is delicious. It's something I never think about making for myself, but I really should.
I love anything that you can put in a bowl and curl up with, and it's nice and warm. I put the AC on nice and high here in New Orleans, so I can do that in the summer.
That sounds about right.
Annabelle says that she appreciates seeing all of the knife cuts and peelings, and thanks you, as well as noting that you're very fast.
Oh, I'm going too fast?
No, that you are just fast.
Oh, well, I've been doing it for a while. I will say, once that's one thing that sometimes I think really intimidates people in the kitchen, but that's one cool thing about our classes is we try to, like I said, instill that confidence, teach you the skills and the techniques, so then you don't have to think about it so hard. And then it becomes, a nice, relaxing thing to do to prepare yourself a nice meal. This is the kind of thing that, honestly, I probably would not normally make this on a weeknight. I would probably be more inclined to do this on the weekend. There's a lot of different components, but that's another reason why I sort of planned this dish the way it was, because I wanted to show that you can use these things different ways throughout the week. Like the onions are great on lots of things. The sauce we're gonna make is really great. Let's see, I gotta think about how I wanna do this. think. So I don't know, what size pieces are these? That one didn't work out so well. It's okay. So now I'll just take these. We always think about how can we turn something from what it is into a plank, then into strips, and then into a dice. That's pretty much the rule for any and all cutting that you're doing in the kitchen. Now, my pieces, I'll be honest, these are not the best cuts I've ever done in my life. These pieces are not super evenly sized. You know, the goal is always to get them as even as possible because you'll get more even cooking that way. But I'll be honest, I don't really mind with stuff like this if I get some pieces that are a little extra crispy and more browned up. I think it's going to be fine. Plus, as you see, I'm cutting it all pretty small. I think I'm actually going to stop there, to be honest, because I don't want to crowd this pan too much. And I don't know if you can see. I'm going to just like move this over a little bit. I have this pan here that I just threw it all on. I want to make sure, and this is just a general rule. Actually, I could fit a little more. I'll just go for it. Whenever you're doing anything, cooking, sauteing, roasting, the trick is to keep space between things. You don't want your stuff crowded in your pan because then your food will end up just steaming. You're not going to get the browning that you want when you crowd your pan with too much food. So, you know, if you have more food than will fit on your pan, you either need to use 2 pans or get a different pan. That would be the best solution. All right, a few more pieces here, and then we'll get it seasoned up. I am going to put some salt and pepper as well as those spices that I mentioned. So I am a lazy cook and I don't like to do a lot of dishes. So I tend to like to do my seasoning right on the tray as opposed to putting this in a bowl, dirtying up a bowl, and then transferring it. All right, so for this, we need a teaspoon of oil. We're gonna save our other teaspoon for cooking our bean mixture. So I just drizzle it over, okay, drizzle, drizzle. And then I'm gonna go in with my spices. I'm gonna give these just a little stir with my finger. I'm about to get my hands really dirty anyway, so it's fine. Give a sprinkle, sprinkle. I had the oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika. You could honestly do whatever you want. Whatever you like. And then I think I'm doing a 1/4 teaspoon of salt here. Yes. So I have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. It'll get all mixed around in a minute, don't worry. And then I'm gonna do some grinds of black pepper for my pepper grinder, which is being dysfunctional lately. So I might not get very much pepper. I meant to look into that this week, but I forgot. Okay, pepper, pepper, pepper. And now I'm just gonna take my hands. Clean hands are a chef's best friend. Give it all a nice tossy toss. Make sure it all gets pretty coated. And then I'll work on spreading it back out in a nice even layer. I can already smell that smoked paprika. Yum. All right, now I just need to wash my hands real quick. Okay, I'm gonna pop those in the oven. I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. Is that what I said to do? Yeah, that's what I said. Sometimes I'm not sure what I say. All right, 10 minutes so I don't forget. Although I will say, sometimes I do forget, and at that point, you just have to use your senses, right? You use your sense of smell. You'll start to smell and hear things. You know, you'll hear it kind of like bubbling away in the oven, and then you'll smell things getting toasty. Okay, next thing, we're gonna tackle the slaw. We're gonna go back to doing our beans. We're gonna do our slaw next because I do also wanna kind of get that marinating a little bit. I have a pretty big cabbage here, which is, yeah, it's a big guy. I'm not gonna use all of this. But I do want to show you an easy way you can tackle this. So I'm going to go ahead. This has this like nubby end on it. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. The other thing is, if you wanted to make your life very easy, you could definitely just buy some pre-shredded cabbage in a bag. No shame. No shame in that game. I've done it many times. So I'm just using my knife. My knife is not very long, so this does become a little tricky, but I don't like a long knife because I have a small hand. I'm just going in through the core. Ooh, I might flip it around. All right, there we go. All right, now I've got it in half. Get rid of one half for now. Get rid of that extra leaf. And now I'm actually gonna go ahead and quarter it. And then I think I'm gonna end up just using about a quarter of this. We'll see. I know it says to use about 3 cups. I'm gonna go ahead and I like to just, the core here is sort of like a little triangle shape. I just hold my knife at an angle like this and just cut all of that out. And now I have this cabbage to work with. Now, I also, again, like to kind of think to myself, what is this going in? How am I gonna eat it? What is it gonna be like when I eat it? If I cut strands this direction, I'll show you, they might be good. They might be a bit long though. I think for this purpose, I want them a little shorter. So I'm actually gonna take this and cut this in half and then tackle it from here. So again, I'm on a flat side and I actually gonna flip it so I'm on a little shorter side here. And I'm just gonna go in with my knife. And this might not be the best way, but I try to get it as thin as possible with my knife. If you have a mandolin, you could do this. I know a lot of people like to use their food processor, and they have like a slicing blade on that. Then again, I'm sort of like I did with the onion, I can flip that around again to make it more manageable and just get it nice and small. Beautiful. Just drop some on the floor. Fortunately, I don't have a dog to come eat that. It's okay. All right, I think I'm gonna do that other piece here. This way. And then, I mean, cabbage is great. You could use any kind of cabbage too for this. I just used a green because I knew I was going to use an apple that had the red skin and I kind of wanted that color contrast. Again, I feel like I'm always just trying to think about a lot of different aspects when I'm thinking about putting stuff together. The flavors, the textures, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I really do like something crunchy on my taco or on my bowl. Something light and fresh and crunchy, I think, is always a nice balance, especially because our taco filling today is going to be really soft and tender. All right, so I'm happy with that. I think that's a perfect amount of cabbage. And now I can tackle my apple. So for the apple, we want to cut this into like little matchsticks pieces so that we can kind of blend them in nicely with the slaw. So I will say this is something that I've learned just in my time of working with GCCM, to think about cutting the apple a little bit like how we cut a bell pepper, where we'll think of it as having 4 sides and we can remove the 4 sides, leaving like a square core in the middle, as opposed to cutting it in half and then going from there. Now you can do that. You'll probably end up with less waste that way, but if you're trying to get really nice knife cuts, this way tends to be sort of better for that. I'm not being really good about it either. I'm not like going in as far as I could, but I can always just like have a little snack while I prep my food, right? All right, so now again, I'm left with these plank-like pieces, and now I can say, okay, how am I gonna get this into a strip and then a dice? This guy had a little bad piece on him. That's okay. All right, so I think for me, the first thing I'm going to do is just cut it this way. And then I'm gonna line a couple of those pieces up together. cut them in half. Those are some pretty big pieces. I should have done quarters. All right, there we go. I'm happier with that. And I definitely leave the skin on. I don't know how many people know me that well, but I like to joke that I'm obsessed with fiber. I love fiber. It's so good for you for so many different reasons, which we can talk about for sure. But when you leave the skin on, you get the fiber, right? So we definitely want to leave the skin on. Plus, I don't know, it just looks really pretty. So I am, again, trying to make these pieces a little bit shorter. I don't want them to be really, really long. I also have, that was a little too short. That's okay. I also have pretty small taco shells to work with. I'm using corn tortillas today. They are whole grain. They are full of fiber. Fiber is your friend. It keeps you feeling full after you eat. It regulates your blood sugar. It helps regulate your cholesterol if you're talking about soluble fiber. It keeps you regular in your bathroom habits. What else? Am I missing anything, Amber?
No, those are definitely the main ones. I always like to think that people always talk about all these superfoods and how they can like buy all these expensive things and like have all these special solutions. But honestly, as long as you're eating fiber, it can cure everything from digestive issues to a hangover. So I don't really see why, people get all excited about other things when fiber's so important.
Yeah, and fiber, it's not that hard to get. We typically, as Americans, aren't getting enough, but it's really not difficult. All you need to do is eat more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds. I think I put this note on the recipe for the crema, but one thing a lot of people don't realize is avocado is actually a really, really good source of fiber. Who doesn't love avocado? I mean, I guess some people don't, but I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's up with that. All right. I think I'm actually going to stop there with the apple. I got plenty of apple. So now I've got my apple. I've got my, what is this, cabbage. Okay. So now I'm going to deal with, I want to show you a jalapeno. Now, you can leave this out if you want. If you don't like spicy stuff, it's totally fine. I will take the insides out, and for that, I like to use a paring knife. I'm just gonna pull my little bowl right over here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And I just take my paring knife. Now you can do this down on your board if you're not as confident in your skills, but I usually just take my knife in there, kind of wiggle it around down underneath that membrane and try to pull it all out at once. Give it a little shake, get those seeds out. I will still, of course, try to wash my hands right after this because, spicy hands and then later you touch your eye. It's not going to be good. Now, if you like it really spicy, you can leave all that in. I like spice, but not too much spice, personally. Okay, and so then now I'll just switch back to using my chef's knife. And again, it's like, okay, what do we need to do? We need to make thin little strips, and then we need to turn that the other way, bundle them up, cut in the other direction, and now we've got a nice, what we would call a mince of our jalapeno. I think for this, I'm gonna put half tonight. And you can always run your knife through the pile, that works too. Oh, that's my timer. And I will tell you, I can smell that butternut squash is doing its thing. All right, add that to the mix. The thing I like about this slaw too is that we don't have to really make an official dressing. We can literally just squeeze lime, throw some olive oil. And again, this is what I mean when I say normally if I was making this, I would just wing it. I would just throw it together. I would say, okay, I'm gonna put some cabbage and apple together. I'm gonna season it up. All right, this is looking pretty good, but I definitely want to get some more browning, so I'm going to give it a little toss and put it back in. And I did not line my pan, you'll notice. I kind of go back and forth about that. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to wash my pans as well, and so I will line them, but sometimes I kind of like the crustiness that you can get when you don't line it with foil. Just give it a little shake. I'm gonna go back in now. All right, I'm just checking my temperature. This oven is very bad. Can't wait to move, if I didn't already mention it. Okay, oh, the rest of this jalapeno, actually we need it. I forgot. We're gonna put it in our sauce. So I'm gonna this is my like little smoothie blender. I'm gonna just go ahead while I have it out, and I'm just gonna give it like a rough chop and throw it in the bottom of there. So we're gonna be kind of like using the same ingredients, so why do extra work? Let's just deal with it all at the same time. We definitely need lime in both of these things, so I'm gonna juice these. I always, if I'm juicing something, feel like if I'm juicing it, I really probably also want to zest it. The zest is where you get so much flavor. All of those essential oils are in the rind, so I just think you're already doing it. A microplane like this, if you don't already have one, they're pretty inexpensive, and it's a great tool to have. So I will actually just zest, and you just, now some people do it, Amber, I think you do it this way, don't you?
Yeah, we put it with the lime underneath so that way you can collect all the lime rind, and then and then that way I don't have it like go everywhere.
I can never get the motion down, so I just do it over my bowl and then just give it a tap. I told you I was kind of lazy. The other thing that you want to do, but I like to think my laziness is actually just efficiency.
It's super efficient.
You definitely don't want to go too deep. You know, if you, hopefully you can kind of see, I just took off just that outer bit. I'm not going too deep with it. Once you get, and really particularly with lemons, I think, when you go too deep, you know, and it gets very, very bitter. So I'm actually just gonna zest this other guy right into this little smoothie blender jar thing. You can use a big blender if you have it. I already packed mine away, trying to get a head start. Okay, so juice it up. I'm not a big fan of like one-use kitchen tools, but I will say this is one that I am a big fan of because I do a lot of citrus, and again, I'm kind of lazy. But if you don't have something like this, one trick, you might know this already, is that you can do the fork thing where you squeeze the fork and then you squeeze. I like this. I feel like it works well for me. All right, so I think this recipe says we're actually going to put 2 whole limes in here, which is fine. I have another one in the fridge. I'll get out for the next thing. When you do this too, a lot of people don't know this, you actually do put I know it's shaped this way, but you put the cut side down and then squeeze. Sometimes people want to do it the other way. So this is going to be pretty acidic, but that's also going to really help keep your apples from turning brown. I will say when I made this for my recipe testing, just to make sure it was going to work the way I said it was, I kept that slaw in the fridge for like 3 days, and it was totally fine. Okay, so lime juice, cilantro. Oh no, I didn't put the cilantro yet, but I am going to just go ahead and drizzle in my olive oil. I need a tablespoon. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin here. I think, you know, that's another GCCM thing we do, especially when we're doing things like dressings. We always go for the better olive oil, something where you're going to actually taste it, right? All right, and then I will need cilantro, but I'm going to go ahead and give that a toss in the meantime. I'm going to use these tongs here. And that'll really, again, help that apple from turning brown at all. And then we can go in with our cilantro in just a moment. I do want to start my beans. What time is it? 6:14? All right, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. I want to kind of get those beans going, and then we can go back because the rest of it's going to come together really quick. So, oh, I lost some. Whoops. Get back in there. Okay. Once I add the cilantro, it's gonna be even more beautiful. Let me go ahead and do my salt actually. So a quarter teaspoon of salt goes in this guy. And we should be able to get a good 8 servings of 2 tacos, which honestly, if you look at the nutrition facts, is everything on those, like the nutrition facts on the back of the taco recipe. I was actually just looking at it again today and sort of amazed at how healthy they actually are. They're so low calorie. They are super packed with fiber. It has 11 grams of fiber total, which is great. We try to strive for like 5 to 10 grams in a meal at GCCM. So 11 is amazing. I'm gonna heat this pan up. It's gonna take a minute. My stove is very bad here. We're gonna go in first with onion, then we're gonna do seasoning and our beans. I will say this is one time with beans that I actually am gonna leave the juice. Now, these beans I bought at Trader Joe's. I didn't buy them because they were organic. I didn't buy them because it said made with sea salt. I bought them because I looked at the back and said, how much sodium is in these beans? Okay, 130 milligrams. I feel okay about that. It's not so bad. If you can get a no salt added, obviously that's even better because then you can add your own salt and you're in control of it, right? I'm gonna wait till this pan like really properly heats up. While I'm waiting for that, actually, I guess I'll go ahead and chop my cilantro. So I did want to show you something. I actually also packed away my salad spinner. And I was thinking about washing this and drying it in my salad spinner, but then I was like, oh, I packed it. So cilantro in particular can be really, really sandy. So I do think it's like super important that you wash it, you know, pick through it, get out any gross bits that you don't want to eat. But a trick I use is usually just like take a kitchen towel, put your wet cilantro in there, and then you can do how you saw I had it, like roll it up and kind of squeeze it a little bit. And that's a like kind of a cheat if you don't have a salad spinner. And particularly for what we're doing here, I don't really care too much about it being a little wet. I'm just gonna grab a big handful here, set the rest of this aside. And then I do wanna just mention, my general feeling about herbs is that I don't really have time to sit here and pick through all of these leaves one by one. It's too tedious. I will say these stems are very, very big on this particular one I have, but most of this is gonna go in that dressing and get blended. So all I'm gonna do is sort of rip off the bottom and then go to town with the rest of it. I also, another thing we always like to say at GCCM, I just sort of ball it up like this, tuck it all up into a ball, and then I take my knife and just run it through. Now, the stuff that's going, I might actually use all of this in the slaw. I kind of like cilantro, but I know a lot of people don't. They think it tastes like soap, and it's not that they think it tastes like soap. They have the gene that makes it taste like soap. So I get it. If you don't like cilantro, parsley is always a great alternative, or you can just leave it out completely. I happen to really like cilantro though, especially in things like this slaw. So I think I'm gonna just put all of that in there. And then I'm just gonna tear off another big bunch to go in my dressing. Okay. Let's see if my pan is feeling hot. All right, I feel, shift a little here. Get set up. Okay, yeah, so I can just sort of hover my hand over there. I can tell that it's radiating some heat, so I can go in with my oil. We never like to add oil to a cold pan. When you do that, it just ends up being in a big blob in the middle of your pan, and that is not tasty because it's not gonna cook your food. My stove is crooked, so it's all gonna run to one side, but the idea is that you want that oil to give a nice little shimmery coating. Now, I'm using nonstick here just because it's my biggest pan, but you can definitely do this in a regular pan too. So I go in with my onions now, and then I am going to let them just hang out. I don't want to disturb them too much. I really want to hear sizzling, and I want to see some color come to pass on those. I check my squash again. It's getting a little browner now. I'll see. I think it's probably good now. Tender enough. Try one of the bigger pieces. It could stay in just another minute or so. Not gonna kill it. Okay, so this slaw is basically done now. Oh, switch me over.
Sorry, I really am liking this multi-camera situation.
Fine. So here, slaw, cilantro's in, toss, toss, toss. I can store this in the fridge until we're ready for it if you want to keep it kind of chilled. Let me make sure it tastes good. See, I can do that because I'm the only person going to eat this. I wouldn't do that if we were at the kitchen. I would have better manners than that. Okay, that's delicious. It's really bright and flavorful and acidic. It's going to be such a nice counterpoint to what we have going on with the filling. All right, now while we're waiting for the onions to do their thing, and again, I'm like trying to use my senses here. I'm like, oh, I smell them. I can sort of start to smell. They get sweet smelling, and so I know that we're getting some caramelization on the outside. Give them a little stir, give them a little shake, then let them do their thing. Get my can of beans open a while. So the reason I do leave the juice in for this application is because I kind of want that liquid. If you really are concerned about your sodium, you can always drain and rinse them and then just add some water to the mixture. That would be totally fine. But I do sort of like the thickness that the liquid of the beans has in it. Okay. Crema time. What do we need? We need avocado. I have some little small avocados here that frankly, I'm not sure what the deal is. I will say with avocados, I tend to keep them on my counter until I squeeze them and think, okay, they seem just right. And then I put them in the fridge. That usually will save them and they kind of stop getting ripe at that point. So we will see when I cut into this. I'm worried it might be too ripe, but honestly, for what we're doing with it, it's not going to be the end of the world, if it is. Oh, see, sometimes it's just wants to like come open. It's pretty ripe, I can tell, but that's okay. It's going to work. So to get the pit out, typically you just stick your knife, give it a little tap. Once it's solidly in there, you give it a twist. You can pull it out with your bare hands. Sometimes I like to use a piece of paper towel just because it's slippery. And if you are worried about, safety, you can do that. You can also go at this with your paring knife if you feel more confident that way. I am just gonna go ahead and use my big knife for now. All right, onions looking good. And I don't need to be too delicate with how I do the avocado because it's literally just going to go in this blender. Just going to kind of score it, make a little bit of a grid, and then I'm going to grab a spoon so I can scoop it out. I could have even just skipped that step if I really wanted to. All right, onions looking good. I think I'm going in with my spices next if I recall correctly. Yeah. In that recipe, I'm using chipotle chili powder. You definitely have a lot of options though. If you don't have chipotle chili powder, you could use regular chili powder. If you don't want to do that, or if you have it, you could use the canned chipotles in adobo sauce. Those are really nice as well. I happened to pick up this little packet of chipotle powder when I was at World Market recently, and I thought, I don't know why, but I just was like, oh, I don't have any of that. That seems good. It's really potent and very flavorful. It, again, has a nice smokiness to it. I already have it measured out here. I'm doing cumin and the chipotle chili powder together. And this is another little fun trick, is to add your spices first before we go in with the beans and let them kind of coat the onions and let them toast up a little bit. That's going to sort of bring out their flavor a little bit more. Give it a little chance to kind of do its thing, and then we'll end up going in with the beans. All right, what else do I have to add? Oh, it's spicy, making me cough. All right, I need yogurt. I'm using Greek yogurt. I'm using some garlic. Oh, I never chopped my garlic. It's all right. Luckily, we don't have to do much chopping of this garlic because it's just gonna go right in the blender, so we don't have to spend a bunch of time fooling around with it. We're just gonna give it a whack, get the peel off. Sometimes I just trim up the little rooty end and then chop it 1 or 2 times there, throw that in the blender. All right, I think it's time for me to add my beans now. Another little tool I love. This is a very good multi-purpose tool, but it's a little tiny spatula. Sometimes you just need a tiny spatula to get things out of small spots, right? All right, so beans are in. Now, the other thing about this is you could really go crazy here. You could add all kinds of other stuff if you really wanted to. You could add, you know, more vegetables to this. You could add bell pepper. You could add greens. You could add whatever. Like, you could really do a lot of different things. I kind of did keep it simple just because I wanted to make sure we could get this finished in a reasonable amount of time. All right, squash is looking delicious. Let me show it to you. Yum. So now I am gonna put all of this in the taco filling, but again, if you wanna leave some out and save it for another purpose, that would be totally fine too. I'm gonna let the beans go on their own for just a minute, and then I will add the squash after. In the meantime, because I'm gonna try to be quick, is I'm gonna heat up this other little pan I have on the stove, which maybe I can just come all the way over here like this. All right, so this little pan is where I'm gonna do my tortillas. So I have this crappy electric stove, so I'm gonna have to just do it right in this pan. My favorite way to do tortillas, if you have a gas stove, is to just literally do it right over the open flame on your gas stove. I'm always very jealous because I know Amber has a gas stove at her house, although I am moving to a place with a gas stove, so.
I think it's very important. I didn't realize how important until I started making a lot of tortillas and being very impatient with electric stoves in general.
Yeah, electric stoves, I mean, I hate to shade electric stoves, but they take a long time to heat up. They're not always super evenly heating. Gas is definitely nice if you can get it, I think. Okay, I think I had a squash fall on the floor and I'm pretty sure I stepped on it. Great. I know what I'll be doing at the end of this class. All right, I'm gonna let that go, but kind of turn it down. It doesn't really need much. It's just really combining and coming together. All right, back to this sauce, saucy sauce. I'm gonna grab some more cilantro. Again, I'm not gonna be fussy about it. I'll do it over here so you can see it. I'm just gonna rip it, get rid of the woodiest stems, and throw the rest of it right into this little blender. What am I supposed to do here? A 1/4 cup of yogurt. I'm using a 2% Greek yogurt just because I do actually like a little bit of fat in mine, but if you're worried, you can definitely use the 0%. It is equally as delicious. All right, and then I need to just grab another lime real quick. I bought the bag of limes, which was a good idea because I needed a lot of lime. Oh, I forgot to take a sip of my Festive little cocktail here. It's not a margarita, but it's pretty good. Okay, so we will squeeze this lime in here. Again, this sauce is really customizable too. I've made it before by addition of different herbs, like doing parsley and cilantro. I've done it where it's even spicier with more jalapeno. You can do lemon instead of lime if you want to get a little bit of a different flavor profile going. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out, sometimes when I make like these vegetarian, I'm so bad at this, vegetarian tacos, I will do like this can of green chilies added to the mix. I'm not going to do it today, but sometimes I do that, and I think it's just another little thing to add. We could have also added like a can of diced tomatoes there or whatever. All right, I need my salt and pepper for this sauce. I'm doing another 1/4 teaspoon, and I'm doing some pepper. I think I got everything in there. I've also made this with a lot more garlic too. That's another fun option depending on what you're trying to do. All right, I am going to just screw the top onto this blender. It'll probably be kind of loud.
Oh no, Heather, I accidentally muted you. I didn't mean it, but it won't let me unmute.
Okay, so I want to show you, I need to add a little more liquid to this. It's too thick, so no problem. I'm just going to add a little bit of water so that I get enough moisture in there to get it to a nice saucy consistency. And you'll know, right? Like if it won't blend, it won't blend. I usually just give it a shake and then go back.
Heather, we have a question. Annabelle wants to know if green chilies are spicy or just flavorful.
Those like diced green chilies in the can? I don't think they're spicy. Do you think they're spicy, Amber?
I don't. I do like that they have a little bit, I don't know if they're like some type of like brine or something that's in them. I think it makes them milder, like almost like a cooked pepper over a raw pepper.
So, yes, they don't specify what kind of green chili peppers these are, but I know a lot of times I will see that they are hatch chilies. But even on the can here, look, Trader Joe's writes it's low heat, low little pepper. Yeah, and this is just green chili peppers, water, contains less than 2% of calcium chloride, citric acid. I don't want to pay attention to that. But yeah, I think they're not, I personally don't think they're spicy. I think they just add a nice flavor to whatever you're doing.
I agree.
Give them a try. If you haven't had them, give them a try. Don't be afraid. They're not too spicy at all. Okay, my pan for my tortillas is getting warm. You can just leave me on this view, Amber. I think it's fine. I'll hold up anything I need to show. I'm going to just pop this guy in the pan, and I'm going to try to be as patient as possible about it. The other thing I'm going to do is just grab some plates. I'm also going to show you plating this as a bowl. I made some rice earlier. I ended up just keeping this plain rice because I might do something different with it. This is just some brown basmati rice. I really like brown basmati rice. I think it's really flavorful. It always cooks up light and fluffy. So I'm just going to put a little rice in my bowl. And then I can go in with my filling while my tortilla is browning up. And I will say, when you do have a electric stove and you're doing this on the stovetop, it's possible. You can get color. You just have to crank the heat up high, and you can't be scared. And you'll see, I just touch it with my hands because I'm not scared, but you can use a device if you choose.
Heather, Annabelle thanked you, saying that she always avoided the peppers from buying them because she didn't know how hot they were. And Tara wants to know, when looking at the sodium on the label of your beans, what do you consider as too high?
I would say probably like 200 is maybe like the max I'd want to go. Keep in mind, that's a per serving. It's not the whole can of beans. That's just the per serving amount. And honestly, I always tell people, don't even pay attention to whatever it says on the front of the package. It does not matter at all. it matters what it says on the back, and looking at those grams is way more important than if it says low sodium, no sodium, whatever. You're better off paying attention to the front. So these aren't quite there yet. Well, we're still gonna use them because they're gonna be fine. But like tomorrow, these are gonna be this color pink, the whole thing. I'm gonna give my sauce one more quick blend. My last tortilla is done. Throw it in there.
Jean, do you have a question about your can of beans? You're currently muted. Oh, I can't unmute you.
Muted.
All right. This can, I couldn't believe it said, I always get no salt added because Mark really, we don't like doing sodium, especially late in the evening. It kind of keeps us up. This can, it only has 5 milligrams of sodium. This brand, I have never heard of this brand before. I got it at Langenstein's, but I don't know what, you know, if it's other stores, but they really looked good, and only 5 milligrams of sodium. That's what attracted me. I've never, usually things are much higher.
That's completely unheard of. That's awesome.
Heard of, but I mean, that's no salt added. So, I mean, maybe looking for like no salt added. That's probably what did it. And it gives 7 grams of protein, 9 grams of fiber. It says it's fat-free and gluten-free. Cooners, I guess. Is that how you pronounce it?
I'm gonna have to look it up because I haven't seen it before, but it definitely sounds like a really great option.
Yeah, I've never seen this before either. And because I very rarely go to Langenstein's, but I was in a rush and traffic was bad, so I stopped and hey, I picked up the right one. They didn't have a lot to pick from.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Sometimes you end up in that position where like there is not a, you know, you have to go with the best of the choices, and maybe some of them are only sort of okay, you know? Like, that's great that you were able to find that. Sometimes finding the no salt added is kind of difficult, so that's great. All right, I'm just plating this up, and then I'm going to show you, I'm adding a little bit of pickled onion to each taco. These really do, honestly, they're so much better when they're done like a day ahead of time. The cool thing about the pickled onions is, you know, you can use as much or as little as you like for the flavor and for the color. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do some of my crema. Now I kept this pretty thick, as you can see, it's kind of thick there, but you can always thin this out even more and really make it more like a dressing. That's another way that you can kind of like utilize it throughout the week if you want.
You know, Heather, I'm just gonna switch to your other camera because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me get it. So here I have it as a bowl with some rice, and then here I'm doing the tacos. Hopefully you can see that.
Diddy wants to know if you can sub sweet potatoes for the squash, and also adds that your cutting board is beautiful and wanted to know if it's local.
Oh, thank you so much. So this cutting board, unfortunately, is not local. My stepbrother who lives in Maryland made it for me. I will let him know that you said that though. I think he might have an Etsy shop. If I find out, I can include it when we send out the video. He makes all kinds of woodworking stuff, but yeah, so he made this. It's getting its use, that's for sure. I've been using it a lot during these online cooking classes, particularly. And yes, Diddy, you can totally use sweet potato. I was actually thinking about using sweet potato at first, and I have done sweet potato and black beans. It's a great combination. I love that idea. Honestly, any winter squash, sweet potato would be great. So many options here. I did just want to point out a couple of things about the nutrition on this. So this is technically, you know, like a serving size, 2 tacos with all your toppings. You're looking at only 290 calories, 9 grams fat total, only 1 gram saturated fat, because we kept this plant-based. Now, if you've got people in your family who are like, I am not gonna eat vegetarian tacos, no way, sorry, not gonna happen, you can add a little meat. But what I put in the notes here is try just going with like 4 ounces of meat and adding that to this mixture to let it spread out. So you just have that little taste of meat, but you're not overdoing it, you know? And then the other thing is we have 4 grams of monounsaturated fat, which we know are those really good heart healthy fats for us. We're at 460 milligrams of sodium. You know, we try to aim for 500 in a meal, no more than that. But honestly, if you're not overly concerned about your sodium for a health reason, you can obviously go a little more. We always strive to kind of go low sodium in all of our dishes. I also just want to say, remind you again, 11 grams of fiber, 11 grams. And then we've got still 8 grams of protein. The cool thing about this is even without the meat, we're getting some protein. And we're getting a complete protein because we combine beans and whole grains. Those two things together are going to give us a complete protein. And we don't need to worry that we're not getting like enough of the right kind of protein in our diet. The only other things I want to mention, potassium, 700 milligrams. If you are at all concerned about sodium, you should be eating more potassium. The more potassium, the better. So 700 milligrams in one dish is great. We've got 45% of our daily needs of vitamin A, 46% of our needs of vitamin C, and 40% of vitamin K. Pretty awesome, in my opinion. And it's just 2 little tacos. All right, well, I think that's it for me. I'm hungry. I'm gonna have some food. Does anybody have any other questions, any thoughts, concerns? I do want to tell you guys about our upcoming classes, but if we're kind of wrapping this up, we can just go right into that. We have some fun classes that we just posted earlier today. We've already seen some tickets go for them. So our next class is going to be next Wednesday. I'm sorry, not next Wednesday. Wednesday, November 18th, 5:30, same time. We're doing holiday sides and desserts. So we're going to kind of look at thinking about, we know the holidays might be a little different this year for everybody. Maybe this is the year we get to make the things we've always wanted to make, try something fun and different. So we're going to show some sides and desserts that we could use at Thanksgiving or Christmas, whatever holiday we're celebrating. And then we're doing a 2-part series after that. The first class is going to be Saturday, December 5th. And the second one is going to be Wednesday, the 16th of December. And those are going to be our sweet and savory edible gifts. So we're going to show you how to make some really fun edible gifts that you can give this year. Again, holidays are not going to be what they were probably last year. So we were thinking about like, what could we do that people might enjoy? So we're going to do that as a 2-parter because we know we're going to have a lot of stuff to get through. And I'm pretty sure those are all going to be with Chef Katie. I think Chef Amber is going to show some edible gifts too, because I know she's a big edible gift maker.
Oh, yeah.
And you even you ship your gifts, so you know all about it. You can give all the tips.
I do think it's a really great way to put a little love in it, but then also be really mindful of it being an activity and being cost effective, where there's a lot of thought involved.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to have stuff that like kids can get involved with helping out doing, so it'll be fun for everybody. Those are all live on Eventbrite, so feel free to go ahead and sign up for those. When we send out the video, hopefully we'll get that out to you tomorrow. When we do that, we'll make sure that we send you the link for those classes as well. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, Heather, I got a couple things as I know that people are leaving. Diddy absolutely would love an Etsy link for your brother.
Okay.
Well, thanks. Annabelle says that those are beautiful dishes and she can't wait to try these recipes. Again, loved all the tips on prep, cuts, and peeling. Great stuff to know and make cooking easier and more fun. Totally agree on the benefits of fiber and love the spoon spatula. I take it out with me. I take it when I go out to eat since I can't lick the bowl. Cooking with Chef Heather was fun. Thanks. I love that about licking the bowl. Absolutely. That spatula is a great idea for that.
The restaurant? I have a bunch of different versions of like little spatulas, but little spatulas are like my best friend. I love these things. So thank you guys so much. I know this week, this year, it's all crazy. We have really enjoyed being here with you guys though and getting to do this. It's something a little bit different than what we normally do, and it's been really fun, and we're so glad you could join us. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll
Thank
see
you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather. That's awesome. I really
Thank
wish
you,
I was
Heather.
at
That
your
was
house.
wonderful.
Bon appetit.